What's up, everybody? I know it's been a little bit. I've had a lot going on, but here we are with another new deck nonsense. This deck, I don't really have an official name for it. I usually try to make my decks funny stuff. I just call this deck Grave Stuff because I didn't expect it to end up being as decent as it is. Um, but another modern format deck because modern's the only format that I mess with. So this deck, it's in the name, is Grave Stuff. So let's run through it. Breeding Pool. It's a forest island. It's a shock land, so you can pay 2 when it comes in, and it will come in untapped instead of tapped. 2 forests, 2 godless shrines, and another shock land. You can pay 2 life. It comes in untapped. Grim Backwoods. Tap for a color. Add a colors to your mana pool. You can pay 1 black, 1 green, 2 others. Sacrifice a creature. Draw a card. Island, 3 marsh flats. This is a fetch land. Pay 1 life. Sacrifice marsh flats. Search your library for a plain or swamp, and then put that onto the battlefield. Shuffle your library. 1 Mirren of the Morning Well. I can pay. It pays for a colorless. You get colorless from it, and you can pay 3. Sacrifice a creature. Gain life equal to their sacrifice creature's toughness. Overgrown Tomb. Another shock land. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, Overgrown Tomb comes in the battlefield tapped. Plains, 2 swamps, Temple Garden. We're just loving shocklands. As Temple Garden enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, Temple Garden comes in the battlefield tapped. Water Grave, as it enters the battlefield, you can pay 2. Comes in tapped if you do. Windswept Heath. Pay 1 life. Sacrifice Windswept Heath. Search your library for a forest or a plain card. Put it into play, and then shuffle your library. Alright, let's get into the spells. We got Assassin's Trophy, 3 of them. Destroy target permanent an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle their library. This is one of the best cards to come out of Guilds of Ravnica. This card single-handedly brought green-black back to the forefront. Now, green-black was being used in Jund, of course, but I mean, like, as far as green-black pure decks. I actually made 2 green-black decks because of this card. The other one being the Golgari deck that I had made previously. So, amazing card. Amazing card. It gave green-black a path to exile, but it's even better because it's destroy target permanent. Whenever something is destroy target permanent, that is ridiculous because it's any permanent. Even basic lands can get it. So it's like, it wouldn't make any sense to get rid of a basic land with this unless it was enchanted with something or giving a particular bonus. But just the fact that you can get rid of anything that stays on the field with this 2-drop makes it incredible. Alright. We got Grizzly Savage. We may reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or land card among them into your hand, put the rest into your graveyard. This card works specifically with this deck very, very well because I'm going to be putting stuff into the graveyard to possibly resurrect later on. But it doesn't do the thing that you get rid of a bunch of cards and you're like, crap, I wish I couldn't got rid of that, because 9 times out of 10 it's a creature that you're looking for, and you can be like, hey, I'll just get that creature to my hand, put everything else that you don't need. Grizzly Savage is really, really good in this deck in particular. Heartless Summoning. There's a reason for this card, and this card actually works very, very well with this deck. 1 black, 1 other, enchantment. Creature spells you control cost 2 less to cast, and creature spells, creatures you control get -1/-1. Creature spells cost 2 less, and creatures you control get -1/-1. I love this card for this deck because you're gonna see later on I have some 1/2 toughness creatures that they have entered the battlefield effects, and some of them have leave the battlefield effects. So Heartless Summoning makes them cost less, and then makes them die upon making contact with the battlefield, and then my triggers go off. So it's really, really good. So 3 Heartless Summonings. I have 4 Viridian Emissaries. Viridian Emissary is what I was referencing earlier. At least one of the things I was referencing earlier when I was talking about Heartless Summoning. This card is great for this deck, and I love it. It's 1 green, 1 other. Creature, Elf Scout. When Viridian Emissary is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. That's why this deck has a decent amount of basic lands. So, great. Love this card. Love, love, love this card. Enter the battlefield. If I have Heartless Summoning, it costs 1, dies, gets me a basic land, gets me that early game ramping that I need with a deck like this. Very, very good. I'm still not 100% sure how to pronounce this guy's name. I'm just gonna go with Atheros. Aetherius? Aetherius? I'm just gonna call it God of the Passage. Save myself some time. God of the Passage. One black, one white, one other. Indestructible, legendary enchantment creature god. That's a mouthful. As long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, this isn't a creature. Whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless the opponent pays 3 life. I love this card because my creatures on the field die all the time, and I kill them specifically for the triggers. So it's very, very just it's beautiful to have on the field. It never becomes a creature. It sometimes becomes a creature. Very, very rarely does it become a creature, but just its enchantment abilities, it gives it enough validity. And I'm realizing that I still have Fleshbag Marauder in this deck, and I actually have a card that I'm going to replace this with. So give me 2 seconds. Actually, like a millisecond. We can just take one moment to appreciate the magic of editing. So, Plague Crafter. 1 black, 2 others. Creature, human, shaman. When Plague Crafter enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player that can't discards a card. This card is great for this deck. It comes in for 3, not even that much. Enters the battlefield, each player needs to sacrifice a creature. I have creatures I want to sacrifice anyway, and on top of that, I'm getting rid of my opponent's creatures, and it doesn't matter if they're hexproof because they have to sacrifice it. That's why I love this card. And then if they don't have a creature and they're running Planeswalkers, the Planeswalkers can get it too. Planeswalkers are gone. I love it. And then even if you don't have something to sacrifice, you still have to discard a card. So this card is just value across the board. The only way the trigger doesn't go off is if you have no creatures, no planeswalkers, and nothing in hand. And if you're at that point, I'm probably going to win anyway. So what's next? We have Gerard's Orders. 1 green, 1 black, 2 others. Sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards. Reveal them. Put 1 into your hand and 1 into your graveyard. And shuffle your library. I love this card. It gets me a creature I need now. It gets me a creature I need later. Get in the graveyard for a possible resurrection later. Beautiful card. Solemn Solidicrum. This is one of the first cards I saw in Magic, and I still love this card to this day. 4 drop, artifact creature golem. When Solemn Solidicrum enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. When it dies, you can draw a card. It's so simple yet so effective. Solemn Solidicrum is a beautiful card. Enters the battlefield, ramping. 2/2 body, and then when it dies, I get a card draw. And this has happened before in playtesting this deck. I've had 2 Heartless Summonings on the field, played Solemn for free, got the land drop, got the draw same turn for no mana. It was ridiculous. I love this card. So what's next? Now we're going to start getting into the higher mana cost things. So these are the creatures that we're probably going to be resurrecting. Thragtusk. 1 green, 4 others. Creature beast. When Thragtusk enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. When it leaves the battlefield, you get a 3/3 beast creature token onto the battlefield. Do I need to even talk about why Thragtusk is amazing? Thragtusk has been an amazing card since it came out in M13. This card was in the modern format for the very, very long time when Birthing Pod was a thing. And even without it, Thragtusk is just an amazing card. Value on the enter, value on the leave, just fucking great. All right. Next, Unburial Rites. 1 black, 4 others. Sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Flashback. 1 white, 3 others. This card is single-handedly one of the most used resurrection cards in Magic, and for good reason. Because it can get something back. There's no real drawbacks. It's a 5-drop. Doesn't cost too much. And the flashback is for 4. Even though it's a different color, still a great card. This deck is a 4-color deck, so I'm not even worried about the 2 different colors. It's literally a green, white, black, blue deck. It's great. And now the reason why it's a green, black, blue, white deck. Muldrotha the Grave Tide. 1 blue, 1 green, 1 black, 3 others. Legendary creature elemental avatar. During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent of each permanent type from your graveyard. That is ridiculous. Like, I didn't understand it when I first read it. I'm like, what do you mean each permanent type? That means you can play a land, you can play a creature, you can play an enchantment, you can play an artifact. It literally can play each one. At each turn, you have the ability to play each one out of the graveyard as if it's your hand. That's why this deck has so many fetch lands, because I can play a fetch land, get my pop a fetch land, get my Dratha on the field, get my fetch land back, do it again, and just get even more lands. It's just ridiculous. Muldrotha is great in this deck, and Muldrotha's a 6/6 body, just a huge thing on the field, just getting me stuff. Muldrotha is value. 6-drop, worth it. It's great. Sun Titan. 2 whites, 4 others, creature giant vigilance. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with its converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. 6/6. All the Titans have their merits. I think the most used Titans are Inferno Titan, Grave Titan, Sun Titan, and Primeval Titan is definitely up there as well. But I love Sun Titan. Sun Titan was, I think a friend of mine said that Sun Titan is the blackest white card because it just brings stuff back from the graveyard for nothing. As soon as it enters, get it back. When it swings, get it back. And if we look at all the permanents that I have here that are 3 or less between all of these, it definitely has value. And permanent 3 or less, that means I get my lands back as well. Give me my fetch lands back. It's beautiful. I think I skipped something. Oh, I did skip something. I skipped Gate to the Afterlife. What's wrong with me? My bad, guys. Gate to the Afterlife. 3. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you gain 1 life. Then you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. Pay 2 tap. Sacrifice Gate to the Afterlife. Search your graveyard, hand, and or library for a card named God Pharaoh's Gift, and then put it onto the battlefield. You may search your library this. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. Activate this ability only if you have 6 or more creature cards in the graveyard. So, great way to gain me some life because I'm always losing my creatures. On top of that, gives me some draw power, and then it gets me, and this is actually perfect that I skipped this because I'm coming all the way back over here to show you God Pharaoh's Gift. 7-drop artifact at the beginning of your combat. Beginning of combat on your turn, exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie, and it gains haste to the end of the turn. This card is ridiculous. It just sits on the field. Every combat gets me a creature for nothing, and then on top of that, I may not even pay it for 7. I could just have Gate to the Afterlife from the field, get 6 creatures in my graveyard, which is nothing for this deck, and then just get God Pharaoh's Gift. This card is great. I don't see it played enough, especially in combination with Gate to the Afterlife. Great combination, great card, especially for this deck. Lowless Giant. I have a love-hate relationship with this card because this card either does nothing or it wins me the game. 1 black, 6 others, Zombie Giant, Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to my target opponent for each creature card in my graveyard. See, this card originally in this deck, because this deck's gone through a few versions. This is like the latest version. But this deck originally was stack the graveyard, get what you need. Now it's like I'm playing in the graveyard so much that sometimes my creatures don't stay there. So Lowless Giant sometimes does a lot of damage, and sometimes it's just a 6/5. But having a 6/5 is never a bad thing, so I'm not complaining. And then Sheoldred, the Whispering one. 2 blacks, 5 others, legendary creature Praetor. Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. 6/6. I don't even need. This card is great. If it didn't cost as much, it might see more play, but in a resurrection deck like this one, it's just fine. This card is hilarious in just bringing me stuff, just by being on the field, just bringing me stuff back. If I had God's Pharaoh's Gift and this on the field at the same time, that would just be unfair. All right, let's see what we have in the sideboard here. We got 3 Dampening Spheres. Dampening Sphere, 2-drop, artifact. If a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces colorless instead of any other amount. Each spell a player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell that player has cast this turn. This is for a lot of like those low drop decks that like empty their hand turn 3, or like Storm. So just shut those 2 down. Leyline of the Void. 2 blacks, 2 others, enchantment. If Leyline of the Void is in your opening hand, you may begin with it on the battlefield. If a card were to be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. I am the only one allowed to use the graveyard in this game. You stop your graveyard shenanigans because I'm doing graveyard shenanigans and there can only be one. Leyline of Life Force, 2 greens, 2 others, enchantment. If Leyline of Life Force is in your opening hand, you may begin with it on the field. Creature spells can't be countered. So it's pretty much just to stop control, because control can be a pain. Even though I can get around control because I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm resurrecting my creatures, but I like to have the initial into the battlefield effect. So I really don't like control. Leyline of Sanctity, 2 whites, 2 others, enchantment. If Leyline of Sanctity is in your opening hand, you may begin with it on the begin the game with it on the battlefield. You cannot be the targets of spells or abilities your controllers control. So this is really good to stop burn. This is really good to stop a discard. Just anything that would affect me directly, it's good to just stop that. And then the original Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay. 1 green, 1 black, instant. Abrupt Decay can't be countered by spells or abilities. Destroy target non-land permanent. Will convert a mana cost 3 or less. Abrupt Decay is just a good card in general, and a lot of things that would stop this deck is Graveyard Hate, which you can see in the form of usually Tormont's Crypt or the cage thing. I don't know what it's called. It's like a cage. I remember the art is like a cage, and it stops you from using the graveyard stuff. But yeah, this is just to get rid of those things, and also it's great because it can't be countered. Being able to get rid of a non-land permanent with convert mana cost 3 or less is great because this meta, the meta that I play in Modern has a lot of low drops, lots and lots of low drops because we're always trying to move fast. So this is Grave stuff. I think this is a pretty decent deck. I like how this deck came out. It did a lot of tweaking to get it here. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna try to upload a little more often these new deck nonsenses because please believe I have plenty of decks that I have just sitting there that are pretty good if you ask me. Look out for the GG because I'm definitely gonna be playing this deck online against some randoms. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace.